Alright. Back on again, same setting.
Mm-hmm.
Have a couple things to kind of talk about the overall trip experience as a team here, I guess.
Yeah. A lot of changes, which we anticipated.
That was the biggest thing, though, is the changes that you kind of go through and you see as you go along this river.
Mm-hmm.
We started off, and at Mississippi flowed through a culvert that was 5.5 feet high and 3 feet wide. This mighty Mississippi, flowed through this tiny little tunnel under a roadway. And now we look out and it's expanded half a mile wide with some of the biggest cargo ships coming from the Gulf of Mexico. It's really incredible.
And started with the first bridge, which was the footbridge, which we actually portaged over. And it got to bridges like the Memphis M and these huge 150, 200 foot bridges
that just expands the river.
That tankers can make it underneath it.
And that original footbridge was just a log, a tree cut in half.
Yes.
And now, we have these multi-million-dollar structures that span the river. It's crazy.
We started off by seeing little fish. Actually, started off being able to only canoe and kayak, maybe canoe, because it was hard. We had to drag it through some rocks. And then in the end, you go through some fishermen and go through some pleasure boats, which definitely all different, because fishermen and pleasure boats were not together.
No, not at first. It was all fishermen, and then it was all pleasure boats.
And then it was all barges.
Right.
And then tankers, pretty much.
Yeah, tankers. A lot of tankers now.
And the weather. What you talking about?
Well, the weather, it's like you come out here and we start in Minnesota and go to Louisiana, and we figured, I said before we left, like, we'd hit 4 seasons. I really didn't understand when I said that how much that would really apply, because we hit freezing rain in Minnesota and snow warnings, and then it gradually picked up, and I'd say probably right as we were leaving Minnesota that would be like the springtime weather. It was kind of cool, and then they had the warm parts of the day and the really chilly nights. And then as we got further south, it was kind of like bleeding into almost like a fall, because actually the fall would still be in Minnesota, where the leaves didn't even have trees on them, or trees didn't even have leaves on them yet. And then obviously down here it's all summer and it's all heat and it's just crazy hot all the time.
Every state we had passed through, and we talked to the people in the towns, it had been heat that was only expected in August, like late August, and heat waves and unimaginable heat for the time.
For the time of the year, yeah. We stopped in Missouri and the guy's like, oh, we don't have these temperatures until August. And it's just like, well, shoot, we're here in June and it's so hot.
Alright. We have a list of cities we went through.
Yeah.
We counted 29, we wrote them down.
We wrote them down. That's what it is right there. We're going to read these off to you here.
Yeah, the first ones we just kind of wrote off the top of our head.
These are Minnesota, so some of these might not be in order because we didn't get the maps out because they're all shredded and nasty.
Yeah, so hopefully we get some new ones.
So we're going to alternate here. So this is cities in Minnesota that we stopped in. Bemidji,
Jacobson,
Palisades,
Brainerd,
Cohasset,
Grand Rapids,
St. Cloud,
St. Paul,
and Hastings. And in
So
Iowa, we stopped in Dubuque,
Burlington,
LeClaire,
New Buffalo,
Bellevue,
and Keokuk.
And in Illinois, we only stopped in 2, the first one being Alton.
And second one being Occoquan.
And in Missouri, we stopped in...
These are pretty much in order now.
In order from side to side here.
Yeah.
Missouri, we stopped in Hannibal,
Clarksville,
St. Louis,
St. Genevieve,
and New Madrid. And in Tennessee, the only city we stopped there was Memphis.
And in Mississippi, Arkansas, we stopped in Helena.
And in Mississippi, we stopped in Vicksburg.
And Natchez.
And in Louisiana, the final destination state, we stopped in Baton Rouge,
Donaldsonville,
and New Orleans. So 29 cities, 36 days. It may not seem like, guess it may seem like a lot of cities, but
They were all necessary cities.
yeah, we needed to keep resupplying because, yeah. A lot of these people that have done this trip I've noticed have done it solo. So they have a lot more room in their canoes for more supplies. We were pretty restricted.
Yes.
I mean, I sat in the canoe with a food bin between my legs for 30 days out of those 36 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we were really limited on what we could keep in the canoe, so which is kind of why, leads us to why we had to stop so many times, is because, you know.
Yeah, and it was just to get like some milk.
Yeah,
Just like a
milk.
little booster to actually step out of the canoe.
Right.
Total mileage, we can talk about that, was probably close to 2,300 miles.
Yeah.
None of the maps seem to line up. I mean, the Army Corps maps are accurate, but the upper maps aren't very accurate. We usually gain 3 miles by the end of the day, somehow.
Yeah,
I
we start out at Lake Itasca, and it said there was 25, 30, 46 or something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
It did not end up to be that long.
Yeah, I think it was at least 200 miles less.
Yes, at least.
It's just weird, because you'd think that they would have the right number. But who knows? I guess bogs change, bog paths change all the time.
Mhm.
So anyone who's planning on canoeing this, be very careful when you go through bogs and have enough time
And daylight.
to make it through them. We talk about the current. That's changed.
Okay, the current has never been accurate, really.
Yeah.
The 1.5 an hour in the upper river, no, it's not. It's the upper river probably for the first 250 miles. Maybe
300.
Maybe 300 was a mile an hour. At times, we'd peak at like 6 miles an hour,
That was in
but
some-
that's like through shallow rapids.
Yes. But then once we get to like the middle section of the river, which the Army Corps says is the upper half,
Which is starting in St. Paul.
yeah, starting in St. Paul, it
It-
really picks up.
It really picks up, and that's with the 27 locks. Once
Yeah.
we had gotten to St. Louis, it was free-flowing river, and it was like, wow. I mean, like, it just stepped it up into high gear, and we were able to maintain, 7 miles an hour average, if not higher. So if
Mhm.
people are wondering how we can canoe 80 miles in a day, or 82, 86 miles, some of the numbers that we hit, it's because of the very quick moving current and the high water level at the time when we got into St. Louis.
Yeah, and it had slowed by the time Ohio got hit, but you just have to make sure you follow the current. Like, you definitely need a GPS to track where the current is. Usually just follow the turns, that's usually where the current is, but sometimes it's not. It's really
Right.
weird.
Yeah.
It just totally drops down.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else I want to talk about. Biggest barge we saw was, how many of these?
6x7,
6x7, 42.
42, which looks like a giant floating city.
We saw tankers from Panama, Greece, Russia, China, every place really around the world as we last few days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy seeing the transition of different ships coming.
Didn't see any cruise ships, but if we had gone any farther, we probably would have. I think.
I don't really have anything else to say.
Yeah. So the amount of time you probably can do this trip in comfortably is, I mean, we finished in 36, which probably sounds really fast. We just really want to get done near the end.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a crazy idiot to spend 13 hours in a canoe seat, and, gosh,
But if you wanted to do this, you can probably do it fairly comfortably
in 50 days.
in 50 days. The upper half is slow. Very, very slow in bogs. But you can just plan your trip to where, you spend hopefully 2 weeks, or 2.5 weeks getting to St. Paul.
And then after that,
And then after
it's
that,
literally all downhill.
It really is. It all picks up, so you can make it. I know no other person really tells you how things are, so we're trying to clear it up for any future canoers, or people planning a kayak or whatever kind of trip downriver. Yeah, I think that's it.
Sorry if I'm distracted. The World Cup game's on mute behind us. We're watching South Africa play Uruguay. So I feel
So
distracted.
this is the end. last video.
And we're gonna shoot our reflection videos after this.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's it.
Alright.